Give me action appropriate to the context. OMA 13.
The sharp crack of palm against cheek shattered the murmur of silverware and crystal in the heart of Manhattan's most exclusive steakhouse, freezing the room like a glitch in time. Alex Rivera, 25, and scraping by on tips that barely covered his shoebox apartment in Brooklyn, tasted blood where his lips split against his tooth. But he didn't flinch, not outwardly. Instead, he locked eyes with Ethan Harrington, the golden boy of New York's elite, whose hand still hung in the air, trembling with the aftershock of what he'd just unleashed, as if the weight of his family's invisible chains had finally snapped loose in that one brutal swing. Ethan's face, chiseled and flawless under the chandelier's glow, twisted from fury to something raw, regret, maybe, or the ghost of recognition that clawed at him every time their worlds collided like this. "You think you can touch me like that?" Ethan hissed, voice low but laced with venom, the kind bred from boardrooms and betrayals. But Alex, wiping the crimson smear from his mouth with the back of his hand, felt no fear, only a fierce, burning clarity that this slap wasn't about a spilled glass of Bordeaux or a brush of fingers mistaken for flirtation. It was about everything Ethan had been running from since they were kids, stealing glances in the shadows of their small-town past, before Ethan's father dragged him into the glittering cage of Harrington Enterprises. The restaurant erupted in whispers as Alex straightened his black vest, the fabric pulling taut over his lean frame honed from double shifts and desperate gym sessions to outrun his own heartaches. Patrons in tailor gowns and Armani suits averted their eyes, but the manager was already barreling toward them, face pale as fresh linen. "Mr. Harrington, sir, I must apologize," he stammered, but Ethan waved him off like swatting a fly. His blue eyes, those damn ocean-deep eyes Alex had once drowned in, now stormy with a desperation that mirrored Alex's own buried storm. "Get this freak out of my sight," Ethan muttered, but his voice cracked, just enough for Alex to hear the lie beneath it, the plea wrapped in poison. Alex didn't wait for security. He untied his apron with deliberate calm, letting it drop to the polished oak floor like a gauntlet thrown. "Freak," he echoed, stepping closer, close enough to smell the cedarwood cologne that still haunted his dreams. "That's rich coming from a man who begs for scraps of truth in the dark." The words hung heavy, slicing through the tension like a knife through silk. Ethan's jaw clenched, his broad shoulders tensing under the bespoke wool of his jacket. But before he could retort, Alex turned on his heel, weaving through the tables with the grace of someone who'd learned to dance around broken glass his whole life. Outside, the October chill bit into his flushed skin as he leaned against the brick wall of La Royale, the city's pulse throbbing around him, honking taxis, distant sirens, the endless hum of ambition that had chewed up dreamers like him for breakfast. 25 years old, openly gay in a world that still flinched at the word, Alex had clawed his way from a Rust Belt, Ohio trailer park to this concrete jungle, chasing a screenwriting degree that felt more like a pipe dream with every rejected script. Waiting tables paid the bills, but nights like this, they reminded him why he kept a battered notebook in his pocket, scribbling fragments of stories about men who loved fiercely and fought dirtier. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from his roommate, Jamal, the drag queen extraordinaire who moonlighted as his therapist, heard about the slap. "You okay?" "Boo. Free shots at the Pink Pony tonight." Alex managed a wry smile, thumb hovering over the reply. But his mind replayed Ethan's face, the flicker of something unspoken, the way his hand had lingered a beat too long before pulling away. It wasn't the first time Ethan had lashed out like this. Hell, it traced back to high school, when a stolen kiss behind the bleachers had ended with Ethan shoving him away. Tears in his eyes, whispering, "My dad can't know." Back then, Alex had swallowed the hurt, chalked it up to small-town bigotry. But now, in the shadow of the Harrington Empire, skyscrapers piercing the skyline like accusatory fingers, he wondered if that shove had been Ethan's first fracture. Pushing off the wall, Alex flagged a cab, the city's neon lights blurring into streaks of possibility and pain. He wasn't done with Ethan Harrington. Not by a long shot. As the cab merged into traffic, Alex pulled out his notebook, pen flying across the page. In the city of secrets, one truth can topple kings. Little did he know, the words he inked that night would ignite a fire that consumed them both. 2 days later, Alex found himself nursing a black coffee in a dingy diner off Times Square, the kind of place where dreams went to die over greasy eggs and bottomless refills. His cheek had faded to a yellowish bruise, hidden under concealer for job interviews that led nowhere. But the sting in his soul, that was fresh as ever. He'd been fired from La Royale. No surprise there. The Harringtons owned half the real estate in Midtown, and one word from Ethan could blacklist him from every fine dining spot in the 5 boroughs. But unemployment checks wouldn't cover rent, and pride wouldn't fill his stomach. So here he was, scrolling job listings on his cracked phone screen, when the bell above the door jingled with a familiarity that made his gut twist. Ethan slid into the booth across from him without a word, looking every bit the polished air in a cashmere sweater over slim chinos, his hair artfully tousled as if he'd just stepped off a yacht. Up close, without the restaurant's armor, he seemed smaller, the lines around his eyes deeper, like the weight of his last name had carved canyons into his 28-year-old soul. "I came to apologize," he said flatly, sliding a crisp envelope across the Formica table. Inside, Alex knew, would be a check, hush money, severance, whatever label they slapped on bribes these days. Alex didn't touch it. Apologize? Or by my silence? His voice came out steadier than he felt, laced with the quiet steel he'd forged in foster homes and coming-out fights. Ethan's gaze dropped to the table, fingers drumming a rhythm that echoed their old, unspoken code from late-night drives. 3 taps for "I miss you," 2 for "I'm scared." Now, it was just noise. "It wasn't about you," Ethan muttered, but the lie tasted bitter even to him. "Dad's riding me hard about the merger. Stress. You know how it is." Alex barked a laugh, sharp and devoid of humor. "Do I? Last I checked, my mergers involve dodging creeps like your frat boy buddies who tip in slurs." He leaned forward, hazel eyes piercing. "But you're the one who hits first and asks forgiveness with a checkbook." Classy. Harrington. The diner faded around them, waitresses bustling, jukebox crooning some forgotten Sinatra tune as the air thickened with everything unsaid. Ethan reached across, his hand brushing Alex's wrist, and, for a heartbeat, time folded back, soft lips in the rain, whispered promises under starless skies. The electric thrill of first love before the world intruded with its iron fists. Ethan pulled back as if burned. "I didn't mean God. Alex, why do you have to come back here? After everything? Why New York?" His voice cracked, revealing the boy who'd once carved their initials into an oak tree back in Ohio, now buried under layers of denial and dynasty. Alex's heart ached with the familiarity of it, the push-pull that had defined them since 17. Because this city's big enough for second chances, Alex replied softly. The word's a bridge he wasn't sure he wanted to cross. Or third. Fourth. However many it takes until you stop slapping shadows. Ethan's eyes darkened, not with anger this time, but a vulnerability that cracked his facade. You don't get it. The families. It's all smoke and mirrors. Dad's got me in therapy, reparative bullshit, to fix me before the board smells weakness. The confession slipped out like a dam breaking, low and ragged, and Alex's breath caught. Ethan's father, Victor Harrington, the titan who'd built an empire on real estate and ruthless deals, preaching family values from pulpits and PACs that funneled millions into anti-LGBTQ plus causes. The hypocrisy burned. But this was a live wire. Fix you, Alex echoed, voice a whisper of outrage. Ethan, that's not therapy. That's torture. The booth felt too small. The diner's fluorescent hum too loud. As Ethan nodded, jaw tight, he says it'll make me worthy of a name. The legacy. His fingers clenched the envelope, knuckles white. But last week, he showed me the file, the real one. On Mom, Alex froze, the pieces slotting into place like a script he'd half-written in his nightmares. Victor's wife, Ethan's mother, dead 5 years now from a tragic overdose. The tabloids hushed with NDAs and spin. But whispers in Ohio bars. Back when Alex's mom cleaned Harrington Estates, painted a different picture, a woman unraveling at the seams. Unraveling because she'd found letters, photos, proof of Victor's double life. A lover hidden in the shadows of board meetings. Your dad, Alex started, but Ethan cut him off, voice dropping to a hiss. She confronted him. The night before. Said she'd tell the world what he really was, still is. Gay. Alex. Hiding behind wives and wars on deviance while he trailed off, eyes glistening with unshed tears. The confession a grenade lobbed into the fragile peace between them. Alex's mind reeled, the slap replaying not as random cruelty, but as overflow from a poison Ethan had been force-fed his whole life. And you slapped me because I reminded you of him? Of that? No. Deeper, because in Alex's touch, however accidental, Ethan had glimpsed the freedom he'd been denied, the love his father had branded as sin. I slapped you because I couldn't slap him, Ethan admitted. The word's a gut punch. Because every time I see you, I see what I can't have. What he took from me, from us. The envelope lay forgotten as Ethan's hand found Alex's again. Tentative. Electric. In that greasy spoon, amid the clatter of plates and the scent of burnt toast, something shifted, not forgiveness. Not yet, but a spark reigniting, warm and dangerous. Alex didn't pull away. Then let's burn it all down, he murmured, heart pounding with the reckless hope of storytellers. Starting with the truth, they parted with no promises. Just a lingering look that said more than words ever could. Ethan vanishing into a black SUV. Alex lingering over cooling coffee. Notebook open to a fresh page. But as he jotted notes, feverish and alive, his phone lit up with an anonymous text. Harrington Vault. 11th floor. Code 0715. See for yourself. Attached was a grainy photo of a locked door in the Harrington Tower lobby. Time-stamped yesterday. Alex's pulse raced. Jamal had contacts in every dive bar and back alley. This had to be from him. A nudge toward the fire. Or a trap. Either way, it smelled like the plot twist his script craved. That night, under the cover of a thunderstorm that rattled his Brooklyn walk-up, Alex slipped into a hoodie and jeans. The waiter's polish traded for urban camouflage. The Harrington Tower loomed like a monolith in the financial district, its glass facade reflecting lightning in jagged veins. Security was a joke for someone who'd grown up picking locks on junkyard cars, a quick jimmy of a service door. And he was in the freight elevator, heart hammering as it ascended to the 11th floor. The code worked. The door hissing open to a dimly lit archive, filing cabinets like sentinels, air thick with dust and deceit. He rifled through drawers marked personal, fingers trembling as he unearthed a leather-bound ledger. Yellowed letters spilling out like confetti from hell. There, correspondence from 1998. Victor's script professing undying love to a man named Julian Reyes, Alex's uncle. The artist who'd vanished when Alex was 8, leaving only rumors of a falling out with the Harringtons. Julian's photos, intimate and aching, showed a life Victor had savored in secret. Weekends in Provincetown, hands intertwined on moonlit beaches. Then, the darker turn, a coroner's report. Doctor to read accidental drowning, but notes in the margins, Victor's hand, admitting the push. The cover-up to protect the empire from scandal. And Ethan's mother, her diary fragments, screaming a betrayal. The overdose, not suicide, but laced with something stronger. Victor's mercy to silence her rage. Alex sank to the floor, documents pooling around him like spilled blood, the storm outside mirroring the one inside. His uncle, family, flesh and forgotten, murdered for loving too loudly. Ethan's mother, shattered by the same lie. And Ethan, groomed to inherit not just wealth, but this rotting core. Tears blurred the ink, but resolve sharpened his vision. This wasn't just a secret, it was a reckoning. He snapped photos with his phone, every frame a nail in the coffin of the Harrington myth. As sirens wailed in the distance, perhaps his own paranoia, he fled into the rain, documents tucked under his jacket, a ghost in the machine of the city that never slept. By dawn, holed up in Jamal's loft amid sequins and half-empty martini glasses, Alex paced like a caged panther, phone in hand. The images burned in his gallery, proof enough to torch Victor's facade. But releasing them, that meant dragging Ethan through the flames, exposing the boy he'd loved to the wolves of Wall Street and Washington. Jamal, perched on a velvet stool in a silk robe, arched a perfectly plucked brow. Honey, revenge is a dish best served sizzling. But love, that's the spice that lingers. You gonna call Prince Charming or what? Alex dialed before doubt could creep in. Ethan's voice groggy on the fourth ring. Alex, it's 5 a.m. A pause. Then urgency sharpening the tone. What's wrong? Everything. Alex wanted to say, but instead, meet me at the pier. Now. We end this. The line went dead. But he heard the exhale, the relief, the fear. As Alex stepped into the gray light. Brooklyn Bridge spanning the East River like a promise. He felt the weight of generations, his uncle's unspoken grief, Ethan's mother's silent scream, his own heart's quiet rebellion. Love wasn't soft here, it was a storm, fierce and unforgiving, demanding they weather it together. The pier at Dumbo stretched into the fog-shrouded water, gulls wheeling overhead like indifferent judges. Ethan arrived in joggers and a hoodie pulled low, looking less like an heir and more like the boy who'd raced Alex to the quarry on stolen bikes. No bodyguards, no entourage, just him, hands shoved in pockets, eyes scanning the mist until they landed on Alex, shadowed against the railing. "You look like hell," Ethan said by way of greeting, but his voice trembled, the words a thin veil over the chasm between them. Alex held out his phone, the photos glowing like accusations in the dawnlight. "Read it." All of it. Ethan's face drained of color as he scrolled. Each swipe a fresh wound. Julian's letters. Tender and damning. The coroner's forgery. His mother's frantic scrawls. This can't, he staggered back, breath coming in gasps. The Hudson lapping at pilings like a mocking whisper. "Dad killed him? My mom? For what? A goddamned secret." Rage boiled up, hot and righteous. But Alex stepped closer, hands on Ethan's shoulders, grounding him as the world spun. "For the Empire. For the lie that you're living too. But it ends today." Ethan's eyes, red-rimmed and wild, searched Alex's face, not for pity, but partnership. "Why you? Why dig this up?" "Because I loved you enough to survive it." Alex thought, but aloud, "Because I'm tired of burying pieces of myself. Of us." The admission hung, vulnerable and vast, and in that suspended breath, Ethan closed the distance, lips crashing against Alex's with the desperation of a man surfacing for air. It was salt and storm, years of what-ifs pouring out in the press of mouths, hands fisting in damp fabric. Not gentle, this kiss was a declaration, raw and reclaiming, tasting of rain and redemption. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the city awakening around them in honks and heliports. "I can't go back," Ethan whispered, voice fierce now, forged anew. "Not after this." Alex nodded, heart swelling with the terror of it all, the fall from grace, the headlines that would devour them. But in Ethan's grip, he saw the story's arc, not tragedy, but triumph. Two men rewriting their ending. "Then we don't," Alex said. Simple as that. "We build something real." Starting with the truth. Word spread like wildfire through the underbelly of New York, leaks to indie journalists. Anonymous drops to advocacy groups, before Victor Harrington could summon his lawyers. By noon, the photos hit the feeds, Harrington hypocrisy trending. Protesters gathering outside the tower with signs reading "Love doesn't drown." Victor's empire teetered, stocks plummeting, board members scattering like rats. Ethan stood beside Alex at a press conference in a sunlit loft. No suits, just jeans and honest eyes. Voice steady as he read from Alex's notebook. "My father built walls to hide who we are. Today, we tear them down." The fallout was biblical. Victor arrested for fraud and manslaughter, his web of lies unraveling thread by thread. Ethan walked away from the fortune, trading penthouses for a modest brownstone in the village, where he and Alex spent evenings arguing scripts over takeout, laughter mingling with the ache of healing. Alex's first screenplay sold months later, a tale of two boys against the machine, optioned by a studio hungry for heart. But the real magic? Quiet mornings tangled in sheets. Ethan's head on Alex's chest, whispering dreams without fear. In the end, the slap that started it all became legend, not a mark of shame, but the spark that lit their way home. Love, it turned out, wasn't a secret to expose, but a light to live by.